Hey, it's Jimmy, and today I'm going to be covering how to use JotForm to create forms, tables, and forms out of PDF files. JotForm is really flexible. It's a great service, and if you're looking to create a form, you're looking to even have a table, or just simply you have some PDFs you want to turn them into forms, you probably should check out JotForm because it really is a great service. Special thanks to JotForm for sponsoring this video, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is to go to JotForm.com. As you can see here, I've done this in Chrome, and you will be presented with several options here. You can set up your email address, you can use Google, or you can use Facebook. I already have a login, so I'm going to go up here to this corner and click Login. It's going to ask me to log in with Google or log in with Facebook. I'm going to click Login with Google. I'm going to choose my address. And here I am, I'm logged in. So, as you can see, I'm logged in. You can see how many things up here in the upper right hand corner. You can check out your submissions, your upload space, if you have a payment plan, payment submissions, form views, etc. You can also upgrade your plan. There's several different settings there. I'm not going to cover that right now. I'm actually using the free version of JotForm right now. So everything I'll show you here is available in the free version. Obviously, if JotForm becomes part of your daily cycle for doing forms and other things, then it probably makes sense to upgrade to a pricing package. But for right now, I'm going to show you the free version of JotForm. So the first thing we want to probably do is create a form, and there's basically two ways you can do that. You can use a template by coming here and choosing Forms Template, and we'll show that in a second. But I'm going to show you how to create a quick and easy form really quickly and simply. So the first thing I want to do here is I'm going to come over to where it says Create Form. I'm going to click that button, and you get three options. I can import a form from an existing version. I can use the template as I mentioned earlier, or I can start from scratch. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to click this, and you get two types of forms. The classic form, the form you think of, sort of like a singular page that contains all your different fields in your form, or a card form, which is sort of takes you one question at a time through it. Most of the time, you're going to probably use the classic form version, so I'm going to show that here. I'm going to click Classic Form, and that's going to bring me into this little, very simple template here. Now, this is basically a canvas. It's probably the best way to think of it. And you can drag elements onto your canvas and lay out your form. So the first thing I want to do here is I'm going to come over to Add Form Element. You notice it's sort of pulsing over here. I'll click that, and it'll bring over this little panel where I can add elements into my form. And it's pretty simple to do, but it has a lot of functionality. So the first thing you might want to do here is ask them for your full name. So you might bring that, you just click and drag that onto your canvas, and now I have this form that has first and last name. And I can customize what I put in here. I can type in like, please enter your name as an example, and just click off of that, and now that's in there. So the next thing I might want to know is their email. So I can just drag that underneath, and I have an email. And I might just customize that again, just type email address. And it even gives you a nice little example here that shows you that. You can edit this if you wanted to, but I'm not going to. If you want their phone number, you drag that underneath as well. You might just say mobile number as an example if you want to customize that. You can also do a date picker if you're doing an appointment. You can add some text. So you might have like a short text, say, what is your issue? Let's say this was the trouble ticket form that you wanted to create. You might create a little section here and type in what the issue is, or you can remove that by just clicking that little red button. Just leave that over. And let's say I wanted that to be long text. I can actually drag that in instead. It gives me a bigger window here that say type in a summary of your technical issue. I'm going to have to spell technical, and then down here they would actually just type that in. And you might even have a file upload, so you can actually drag that down here, and then you might say upload any screenshots showing the issue. Their issue. And then they can actually drag and drop a file right into here and have that in, and then you have your submit button and now submit the form. So that's a pretty good thing. You can actually come down here. If you come down here, you can actually use dividers. So you might want to separate, for example, the customer's information from the issue. So you can drag a little divider in there as well. And There you go. So now we have this form. Okay, so then we have this. You can come over here to Form Designer to make your look pretty, and they have several themes. So the first thing I would do is look at their themes. You can see they have a current theme, but let's say I wanted a colorful theme. So I can come down here to use this theme, and you can see it just changes the whole look and feel of the form. Now this looks a little festive. I don't know if this would be appropriate for what we were doing earlier. So maybe I'll scroll down a little bit, maybe do a techie one, use this theme. And now I have, so it has a Mac in it, Magic Mouse on top here, as you see. The image is a little stretched out, so it's not the best, but it looks okay. Or, I actually kind of like the default theme, so I'm going to go back to that, but just click Use Theme. And now you just get the default theme. And then if you want to preview that, what you can do is you can click Preview right over here. This little toggle, and this will actually show you what it will look like to your users when they can't encounter it. Very simple form. And the nice thing, cool thing about JotForm here is in the preview, they let you preview on the desktop. You can preview it as a tablet, and you can actually change the orientation, which is really cool. So this is showing a portrait mode, but if I want to see it in landscape mode, I can do that as well. So if I was holding looks like an iPad, sideways here, you can see what it would look like, and you can see, you can actually scroll. It's actually, you can see that it's not going to fit necessarily, but you see what the user experience will be before you actually publish the form. Or if you're on an iPhone, or iPhone. If you're on a mobile device, traditional mobile device, this is what it will look like and if you're on a mobile device, this is what it would look like in portrait mode. This would be what it looks like in landscape mode with the turn the phone sideways. The form is by default they're mobile responsive, which is really cool. But let's get out of preview. You also have layout over here. You can put all your questions on one page, or you can change it back to card form if you wanted. If I change it to card form, you can see each one of these becomes a card. And then you have a previous and the next, so you might say, so this would be good if you wanted to do the form more as like a bunch of steps. You wanted to have them do one thing, hit next, do one, enter the email address, hit next. And if you preview that, it'll show you exactly what the behavior would be. So this is more of an interactive step-by-step. And then you would just hit each of these and then drag your file in or hit browse files to pull up the file and then hit submit and you're done. And then not much like last time, you can show that in all the different types of devices you have, which makes troubleshooting this quick and easy. Now I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go back to layout and I'm going to put it back into classic because I like classic better. It's going to take a second to redraw it. There it goes. And now it's ready to go. Next thing you might want to do is go over here to settings, and this is going to give you a bunch of different settings. So the first thing you want to do is you want to give your title. So I can come over here and say this is trouble ticket form. Learn how to spell form, and then I can go to more options here and come down to my status. I can enable it, or I can disable it, or I can disable on a certain date. So if it's a limited time form, I can actually go down here, say disable on date, and then put a date in on the expiration date. And then if someone tries to access the form after that date, I can actually put in a little message here saying it's not available, or you can no longer fill this out, or whatever I want to do. But in this case, I'm going to just enable it. You can actually change the warnings of your forms. So like if they make a mistake in terms of what they're putting in, whether a field's required or some errors here, so there's, you can do some error checking and validation against your form. And you can have certain so you might have certain fields in your form that might only take words but not numbers, or numbers but not letters, for things like account numbers, social security numbers, things like that. You might have currency values, etc. So it has a rich amount of validation. You can also put limits on the text area. So even in the long form text that we had before, we could put a character limit, so how many characters or words we want in there. And then you can also validate email. So if they enter the email address, you can actually put in messages here that basically you can limit on free accounts. You can limit on if the email doesn't match. Like if you're doing a verification, you have like an email and then a verify email, it'll compare the two email fields and then say, hey, this doesn't match. Things like that. So really cool, right out of the box type functions. You can come over here and create conditional logic. So this is sort of, think of like if-then type stuff. So you might want to, like, depending, so here, if-do. I should if-then, my programming days. So you can build a bunch of functionality here that says, hey, if they filled out this field, then show these other fields or do these other actions. And for a lot of times, if you're doing a very simple form, you're not going to need this. But if you're doing a complex form where what the user has to fill out is dependent on what they entered, So you might have a drop down and say, hey, what type of issue are you coming in on? And if you choose that issue or choose that type of function, the subsequent fields that they'll see is going to be based on that choice you made. So you could build that quickly and easily inside here. It's a very rich, sort of very visual kind of logical setup here. So you can sit there and say, if, please enter your name, and you can put in, like, if this is empty, you might show or hide certain fields, or if it's filled, you might want to do something else. Things like that. You can actually add more stuff here. You can have multiple ifs, and then you can do any or all match. So this is basically if enter name and enter email address and is filled. You might say if name is filled, and you might say if all of this, then go on to the next thing or do something different. If it's not, you might want to do some other behavior. So it's pretty rich. Like, I'm going to discard my changes there because I don't want that in my field. You can also do calculations based upon field entry. So this is good. So like if you were sitting there and you collecting a handful of values in your form and you wanted to do some calculations on that. So you can sit there. I don't have any values, as you can see here. But if I had one that said, hey, I'm collecting some values like how much money or how many of something I have, and I want to calculate that, I could potentially do that. I have a bunch of different. I can copy the values and then calculate the field's value. So, like I said earlier, pretty cool that's built right in. Very simple. You can skip to or hide a page depending on obviously input that you've gotten in. So if a field is filled in or something, I can actually skip to the next page or skip that item. Or if there's if email address, and I can come down here and I can sit there and say it's not equal to contains, like let's say it contains a certain domain, for example. I can say contains and then the value, and I can type in Gmail. And then I can skip or hide a page or do something along those lines. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to discard my changes, but you get the idea. It's really, really flexible and powerful, but at the same time very powerful, and everything's very clear what it's doing, right? So again, this is conditional logic. You have a bunch of different things here. You can actually redirect emails. You can change your thank you page to something default based upon things that are happening. So if someone comes in here and if it does have is filled, for example, let's say they upload a screenshot, you might want to display a custom message. Thank you for submitting the ticket with a screenshot, things like that. Or you might say, if they gave me that, they might give me this information. I might redirect them to a URL that might be more helpful, right? Maybe it has more information, or will direct them to do different things. So again, very powerful. Next thing you can do is send emails after. So this is good for autoresponders and things like that. So let's say you submit a form. You put a form out there, someone fills it out, hit submit. You can then send emails back to them based upon that submission, right? And you can add an email address here. So with these emails, what you can do is you can have a notification email, and that will actually notify you as the form creator that someone has filled out the form, right? And then you have this autoresponder email, which once someone fills out your form, they will receive this email. So a lot of times you'll do this commonly, like, we thank you for filling out our form. We've received your form. We're processing it, whatever we're doing. And then you can kind of customize the various things here. You can put in, you have the form itself here that you can send them the content back of everything they filled in. You can also put in some text that says, hey, thank you for filling out our form, et cetera, et cetera. You can just come up here and just type in some information. You can bold, italicize. You can insert links and images. You can do a lot of different things. You can even put a custom table in if you really want to. Typically, you're not going to do that in an autoresponder email. Typically, in an autoresponder email, you just want to say, hey, listen, thanks for filling in your form, and you show them the values that they filled in, assuming that none of them are super sensitive where you wouldn't want to send it an email. You can set up some recipients here. And lastly, you have an advanced tab, and then you can send it on edit. So users can get a new email every time the form submission is edited. You can create a PDF attachment that you can put to the email. So a lot of times you might, let's say, for example, they submitted a form for signing up for your newsletter or something, right? Part of that was if they filled out the form, that you were going to give them this free PDF document on how to do something, or some kind of extra incentive thing that you did in order to get them to fill out the form. You can then automatically just send that back to them as soon as they fill out and submit the form. So it automates that process, makes your life a lot easier. You have a bunch of other fields here. You can hide empty fields, things like that, just to keep the response back to them clean. So you have a lot of customization. And speaking of customizations, let's talk about integrations. So if you come over here to integrations, as I scratch my head, you have a ton of integrations to various things. You have it to Dropbox and PayPal, OneDrive. If you're a Salesforce user, Salesforce, Google Sheets, so you can populate spreadsheets with the form data you collect, which is really cool. So let's say, for example, you have someone fill out a form and you want that data to be written to a Google Sheet that you have. Well, you can set that up by just clicking on this, and then you would tie it to your Google account, and then tie it to a specific Google Sheet that you want filled in. So let's go to the next one. You have a thank you page here. So you can actually create a thank you page as that, or you can redirect them to a URL. So they might fill out the form, and then you might want to take them to a specific page on your website that says, hey, thank you for filling this in. Maybe it has a download, or maybe you're giving them something to say, hey, oh, by the way, here's the download link to that file that you wanted, or whatever. And then mobile notifications. So when people fill out your forms, you can actually get notifications from JotForm on your mobile device. That will, and you just enable that, and that works on Android and iOS. So the last thing you want to do is publish, and you have a couple of different options here, depending on what you want to do. Number one, you can just have them go to the JotForm.com site that points to your form. So I'm actually going to copy this link, and you can copy it to clipboard, and like if you're sending that out to people, you just paste that in wherever you're doing it. So like, for example, I have a YouTube channel, and I wanted someone to I wanted to collect some information. I want some of my viewers that, hey, if you're more interested in more information, here, go to this form, fill out what you want to see, and I'll paste that link into my description of my YouTube channel. They'll click the link, and they can just go right to the form. The other thing you can do here, I can just show it real quick, is I can go to open a new tab. That's going to open a new Chrome tab here, and it's going to show me my form. And as you can see, this is exactly what my form looks like. It looks very vanilla, very basic, because I didn't do a lot of customization here. But you get the idea. It works exactly as you would expect. I can fill these values in. So let's do that real quick. I'll put my information in here. And I'll put and I will put in a fake number here. Issue, blah, 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 because I can't think of an issue offhand because I'm not the improviser. If I want to upload a file, I can actually just drag and drop my error message right there, and I can hit submit. And as you can see, it gives me a little thank you, as we said before, a message. So I'm going to come over to my email, and I'm going to open this up real quick. And you can see this is an example of the email that I would get from JotForm for filling out the form. It shows everything I did here. That sort of just shows you how to create a new form. So quickest and easiest. Now you can do other things here. That's how if you wanted to send them a link. But what if you want to embed this on your existing site? Let's say you have your own website. You just want to embed that. You can actually come down to the embed option here and copy this code right here and paste it into an HTML block. Let's say you had a WordPress site, for example, and like I do, I have theproductiveengineer.net. Check it out. It is my blog, and I wanted to have at the bottom of my blog, I wanted to have a form that you maybe want to sign up for things. What I would do is I would simply copy this, create an HTML, drag an HTML block onto my page, my blog page in WordPress, and copy this code and just paste this in, and then that would enable that form inside my page. So there'll be a little block on my page, on my blog post, that would have, towards, wherever I put it in the page, that would show up. That would just be the form. You can use an iframe. You can use an iframe. You can provide a feedback button. You can have a pop-up if you want to do a pop-up. Some people want the form to be a pop-up, things like that. So very easily. The other thing you can do is you can actually assign this form, right? So you can sit there and say, I don't want to put this on a website, but I want to assign specific users permissions for this. And if this was a corporate account, so for example, let's say I had a huge business and I had multiple employees, I can assign everybody in this organization the ability to access this form. I'm not that, so I won't. And then here's some more email settings. I can share it on email. I can schedule a reminder email as well. So a lot of times what will happen is you might want to send out an email to your email list with this form in it. Or if you have like someone signs up for something and you want to send them the form, you can just send that on email. The other thing you can do, which is really cool, is you can set up a reminder email. And it even has text in here. So you can sit there and say, hey, listen, just a friendly reminder, you didn't fill out the form. You can schedule this, like send time. So if you sent it out, you might say, hey, listen, send out the form on Monday at a certain time. Right here, I can go down to, if I send it on the 21st, I can go to the 26th, for example, I'll send that out. And just hit save. for example, and now I have this reminder email that'll go out. The other thing you can do is you can actually download a fillable version of your form in PDF format. So let's say instead, rather than filling it out on a web page or an email, you sending them a link to it, an email, or embedding it in a website, you can actually just send them a downloadable PDF version of it that you can fill. They can actually fill out the PDF and send it back to you. And then lastly, platforms. You have a bunch of different platforms you can actually publish to because they've had some sort of preset versions here. So for example, let's say you're on WordPress.com. You can actually click there and it'll literally give you a embed option there, right there. Very easy. If you were on Facebook, you can do the same thing. And then you would just add a JotForm tab on your Facebook page. So if your business has, for example, a Facebook page and you want to put a form right in there, you can do that. Google Sites, you have a variety of different ones here. Wix, GoDaddy, etc. So these are sort of some pre-built ones as well. Most of the time, you're just going to use the embed option. It's the easiest way, in my opinion, to do it. If you just have like a blog or something, I'm just going to grab it right off. I'm going to copy the code right off of it and then paste it. Pull that block in, paste it, and I'm good to go. So very simple, very quick way to build a form. So once you have your form built, so let's get out of this. Let's go back to build, publish, and all that stuff. Okay, so let's go back to regular JotForm. So you can see I have my trouble ticker. It's supposed to be ticket. I hate ticker. I'm just noticing that now. I'm going to ignore that for now. So one of the things you can do here is you say, well, what happens when someone fills out that form? Where do I get my data? And one of the things you can do, you come over here to my tables, and now you can see I didn't create this. This was automatically created when I created my form. And if I click on it, for example, and I go view table, you can see that I filled it. It's just a table of my form. It has all the fields in my form. And you can see every time it's filled in, it will actually populate the information in this form, right? And the cool thing about this is it collects all the data, and then you can filter on it. You can rearrange your columns. You can come over here. You can assign this to the various people, or you can download it. So a lot of times what you might want to do is once especially if the form's a limited time form, is you might want to grab that data out of JotForm. You might want to put it, like I said, into Google Sheets or into Excel to manipulate it or just to offline store it. So I can come here and click download all, and I have several different options here. I can download it as a CSV. And think of this as, I would do this if I was putting it into like Google Sheets as an example, and I didn't choose that as an option earlier, that integration earlier, or I was putting it into just a generic spreadsheet program. If I was using Excel, I would use Excel here, download as Excel. You can also download this as a PDF, right? So I can actually, let's do that real quick. I'm going to download this PDF. And when I do that, what it's doing is it's actually sending me the file in an email when it's ready. And I'll click, okay, got it. I'll come over here. Now, you can see that when I click on it, you can see that my form is ready. And it shows me the download, and I can click download. It will download it here. I'm going to open it. And I'm going to open that PDF and drag it into my picture here. And you can see that this is exactly what I did for that user. So it shows me each person. So if this had 3 different entries, I would have 3 different pages of, it would show me every entry in a PDF. And I'm going to edit form real quick here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, I'm going to open it in a new tab, and I'm going to fill in some more information. Willy Wonka. Just to give you an idea of how this works, Wonka at Wonka.com. And I'll do the same, someone stole fizzy lifting drinks. I won't put a screenshot this time, I'll hit submit. And there we go. I'll get out of this. And now I will go to my tables. And you can see my table now has the second entry here. Notice it doesn't have the attachment like this one does. It has exactly what I filled in on my form. And I'm actually going to download this real quick. So I'm going to go download. This time I'll download it as an Excel file just to show what that's like. It's putting that together. I'm going to now open it. And here we go. So, I'll actually stretch that out a little bit here. So, notice that, make this look a little prettier, but you can see in my spreadsheet here that I have both entries, the time they were submitted, all the fields I had before, and if it has an attachment, it doesn't, obviously you can't really put the attachment in here, that's not really viable. What it does instead is it gives you the URL that takes you directly to that attachment. Could be here, for example. Copy, and I go into here, and I go new, and I paste. And I'll actually download my error message, and it takes me right to my file. So really cool. So if I want that, I can pull it out directly from the link. And as I add more things, I can re-download. I'm not going to save this, but as I add more and more, get more and more entries on my form, they'll automatically show up in here, and I can pull them down periodically when I want to. So that's how forms work in terms of creating your own form. I think it would be remiss if I didn't show you some of the templates they have. So if you come under here, the templates, they have a whole section up here in the main menu, and you have a couple different ones. If you're doing a card form template or a regular form template, you have two different options there. You have a table template as well as PDF templates. So I'm going to start with here with basic form templates. I'm going to click that. And as you can see, there's a ton of them. Over 10,000 templates here. And it's been broken up by industry or type. So if you're doing, like, for example, an application form, you can click on that. And then you can come down here and just scroll and see what you want. So you have all different types. Job application forms, and it has a ton that you can just kind of scroll through here on the side. You could also have a scholarship application forms. You have loan applications, all sorts of applications. Pet adoption, school application, memberships. So tenant applications. So if you were like a landlord, you wanted to start renting out, you can just use one of these preset templates as well. Contest entries, summer camp, volunteers. I'm going to scroll back up here so you can see more. So one of the things you might have is a sign up form. So you can click on that. And then you have all sorts of, like, a course registration. So let's say you had a course. So you might want to use this template. You just click it, and it brings you right to it. So two things are happening here. So if I were to fill out this form, for example, if I came to publish, and I opened it in a new tab, and let's just see if I can fill out part of it. I don't want to fill the whole thing out. And let's do mail, and submit application. I've submitted my form. Now I can go, and you can see now I have course registration form has an entry in it. So I can just view that table. And you can see I didn't fill in all of it, so it was a blank. And actually, the form must validate against birth date. It has an invalid date. And I can scroll along here, and you can see it has all my various things, all the fields of that form. So again, it automatically generates that table, collects all that data. And again, if you had integrations to things like Google Sheets or some Dropbox or whatever, you can take this data and put it either into Dropbox or OneDrive, or if you have a Google Sheet, you put it directly into Google Sheets. So really cool. Works really well. It's really simple to do. As you see, it did not take me any time to use that. Now I have that. The other thing you can do here is with this form is I can edit it, right? So I can take this template, but I might not want all of this. So for example, I might not want this. I might not want address. I would, but let's say I didn't. I just take that out, and now that's no longer in there. Mobile number. I might not want a work number. I can take that out. Delete that out. I can maybe delete company out, because if I'm applying for school, there's a good chance I'm not doing that. And then maybe I have this drop down here. It has all these different courses in it. I can edit those, visual comments, etc. And now I can preview my form based upon my edits. And you can see it has just the things that I want in it. Very cool. And I can see, again, like before, I can see what that looks like on a phone. I can see what that looks like on a tablet. I can see what that looks like in landscape mode. Very cool. And if I just want to come out of that, I just click out of it. And again, let's say I like this form, but I don't like this the way it looks. I can come over here to Form Designer. I can go Themes, and I can move it to, maybe I want this colorful theme that we talked about earlier, or maybe I want something that looks a little more, something like this, right? For example, or I could choose even something like this. And now I have this sort of, it looks kind of like I got some books here, tablet on the side. If I preview my form, this is what it'll look like on a tablet. This is what it'll look like on a phone. And this is what it looks like on the desktop. very cool. So, I mean, this is really easy once you get the hang of it, and you have your URL right up here that you can share. You can click the share button here and now copy it to your clipboard. For it actually opens up in a new tab. You can actually see what it looks like in a tab. So very easy, very quick. I'm going to turn off preview and just go back to my forms, and now I have these two forms here. So very cool, very simple to use, and that sort of covers everything that you'll want to probably do in forms when you get started. Now, as I showed you earlier, there's a ton of functionality. I kind of just gave you I didn't want to fire hose you with all the things that JotForm could do, but I wanted to be able to show you everything you needed to get started with JotForm. One of the nice things I've noted about using JotForm, I'm using it for a couple of weeks now, is how simple it is to get started, but so customizable. So I can start with a really simple form and get that out in like a minute or two. And I can bang that out. I can make it look pretty and get it out and done in less than 5 minutes. Even a complicated form, a lot of times there's a template I could use, and like I showed you earlier, you can customize that template to fit your needs and then use that template, and it's yours forever. The other thing that's nice is that it automatically tracks all the submissions, right? So as people start submitting your form, you get that in your table, and once it's in JotForm, you can send that pretty much everywhere. Again, you start using these integrations, you have, you can send it to pretty much, you can put it to a Google Calendar, you can put it to Google Sheets. I can come into Google Sheets, for example. I can add to form, and I can actually say select form, and let's say I wanted this course registration form. I select it. So, and then here it's going to give you this little message here that says, hey, do you want to populate your Google Sheet with the form data? I'm going to hit authenticate. Choose that. I'll allow it. And I'll create a new spreadsheet because I don't have one set up yet. And I'm going to save. And click. So what I'll do is I'll come over here, open up my new tab, and you can see that this course registration form is now in a new tab. Now all that information is gathered. So I'm going to show you something really cool. I'm going to click finish, and I'm going to come back to my form. I'm going to open it in a new tab, and I'm just going to fill in Willy Wonka. And let's say he was born in January 4th. We'll go down 1999. Dude's male. Wonka@com. I'm not going to, and then let's choose one of the courses, Intro to Linux. He's really into Linux. And we'll hit submit. And now that form's there. And now I go over to my Google Sheet. It instantaneously updated with all the information that I just filled in. And now this is going to update every time someone submits. So in addition, now you might say, well, do I still get my table inside of, oops, go to my tables. If I go to course registration, you can see that it's also updated the table here, so it's not like I have to choose either putting it into Google Sheets or leaving it in JotForm. It's in both, and if I scroll over here, you see Intro to Linux on the end. Yep, and you see it's right there. So really cool. And again, you saw how quick I was able to do that. Like I was able to make that happen in like 2 minutes, and I set up a form that not only creates a table inside JotForm, but also sends that data into my Google Sheet. It will automatically update now. That's set up. So now, a week from now, a month from now, people fill this in. I can go into my Google Sheet, and that data is going to match exactly what's in my JotForm table. So everything that they submitted in my JotForm is going to move into the JotForm table and also move into my Google Sheet. I mean, it doesn't get easier than that. So next I'm going to show you how to use the tables functionality inside of JotForm. Okay, let's look at tables. So creating tables is really simple. You come into, if you're in the main JotForm page, you just click on here, you go to My Tables. It'll bring you into your table section. And you have a couple different options here. You have the ones that are shared with you, which I don't have any because I work all by my lonesome. But this shows all your tables that you've created right here. You have an archive and you have a trash can if you delete a table. They'll go into it. The nice thing about it is if you accidentally delete a table, it doesn't go on forever. It goes into your trash. And then what will happen is it'll be in there, as I said earlier, up here for 30 days. So then it sort of protects you from yourself, which is kind of cool because, you know, we're always in here when you're working lots and lots of tables, working on lots of things. You might have like the sample one, which I don't care about, so I might come over here and choose trash, and it'll tell me right away, are you sure I want to delete this? And I hit delete. It's going to tell you right here it moved it to trash, and it's going to tell you that if you don't do anything, in 30 days from now, it's going to disappear. So if I go into my trash here, and I can restore it if I want, or I can purge it, which gets it out of my trash can. So it's a two-step process to delete a table. It's the same thing with forms as well. So if I wanted to restore, I can click restore, and it'll restore that sheet. And if I go back to all tables, you'll see it's now restored. And in my last update, which is today, because I restored it. But if I want to delete it for sure, I just click that, click delete table, and then go into trash and click purge. And then now it's gone. So if I go back in here, it's gone. If I go to trash, it's gone. So let's create a new table. So let's click create table. It's going to bring me into this form here, and there's a couple different options. So first is obviously starting from scratch, which is a blank table. You can use a template, and actually let's choose that real quick. We'll do that one first. So let's click template. You have a ton of them in here. So you have all sorts of, these are the most popular ones right here. Monthly budget template, call log templates, project tracking templates, sign-off sheets. And then you over here, as we saw earlier, we have a bunch of categories. So you can go down here and you can scroll and say, hey, listen, I want something with finance, for example. And I can come in here and I can say expense report template. I can actually click the preview button, and it's going to show me what the template looks like and what the fields are in it. And it actually has two tabs, right? Because you got multiple tabs in your tables, much like a spreadsheet, you can have multiple tabs. These tables in JotForm are very much similar. You can have multiple tabs. And this one's the expense one, and you can sit there and see each individual expense, what it is, you know, an expense list here, and then whether it was paid or not. You know, it has attachments for receipts, check boxes, and, you know, phone numbers and email. And that's what that looks like. You can actually look at the other tab as well, and you can see each one of them. It has these little sort of, they almost look like cards for each one of these, and how much they are, how much they cost. I would need to clone it to use this form feature. So if I clone this, if I click use template, that's basically what that does. It becomes a clone, and I get a clone of that in my forms, and I can manipulate it. So the other thing you can do, if you go back, and you go to use a template, you can come in here, search for a template. So let's say you were looking for something that was a project template, right? It'll show me everything that has project in it, right? That's related to projects. And it actually has, if it has categories, which it does here, right? It has a project management template, as well as construction templates. It gives you categories that it thinks you might be looking for, which is really cool. So I'll click on that. It'll take me right into my project management templates. And I can go through here and see, like, let's say I wanted to use this action items template. So I can click that, use it, and it'll take me right into it. And it actually has a couple different tabs here. It has the action items list, a list of all the items. It's probably the most way you think about it. It has your team, has a bunch of your team members and their roles. And then you can actually add your own tabs as well. And you have a bunch of different options here, but I'm not going to do that right now. So I'm going to come back here. Okay, so if I want to see this as a form, I can just come over here and click form. I can view my form, right? I can actually go back. If I want to edit this form, I can click edit. And let's say this action items list, let's say I don't want this. So I can just come in here to requested date, remove it. And let's say I want to edit this, right? So properties. Go to time. Let's turn the time field off. Because maybe I just want the date, due date, not due time. But if I wanted to do time, I can put that in there as well. And click that. But I'm going to click it off for now. And I'm going to turn this off. And I can preview my form. And you see it's kind of vanilla looking. So like before, we could go back in by clicking the form designer, choosing a theme. So let's make it a little colorful. I like the colorful one. So let's do that. And now I got this nice colorful little form that I want. Or I can come down here and do something different. But I'll use the colorful one. And we'll preview. And this is what our form looks like now. So very cool. I customize it the way I want. I can now go to publish. Actually, I can open this in a new tab, for example. Let's fill this in. Description. Blah. That's started. And submit. And my form's now submitted. And remember last time, I can go to my tables. I should be able to refresh this. And now you can see I have an action items template. I can view my table. And you can see up here, I have my new entry, right? Block. I don't know what that word means. Just trying to type blah, and of course I failed. And then it has everything I filled in. And I can view that, all that information right here. I can turn it off, and I can, much like last time, I can download this if I wanted to. I can download it as a CSV file. And it's going to come down here. Once it's done downloading, I should see a prompt right down here, which I do. I can open that. It opens up in Apple numbers because I'm on a Mac. And you can see, if I come over here, it imported that table is now here. I can import it because it's a CSV file. I can import it to any spreadsheet application. I just wanted to show something other than Excel or Google Sheets. And that works really easy. So that's how the basics of that table works. So let's say I want to create a new table from scratch. So I can go back to my table. And I can create table. And instead of choosing a template, I can actually just go to blank. And I'm going to go sample table 1. Click create. And now I have this very basic table I can do here. And there's several things I can do. So if I click here, I can come down here. I can rename this column. And I can say first name. I can click a second. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Did the wrong thing, of course. And I can come over here. Another short text. Hit next. I'm going to call it last name. Hit create column. I can drag that column by clicking and dragging, but right here, first name, last name, email. I can potentially delete this one if I want for notes. And now I can put in maybe a phone number if I want, so I can come down here. Next, let's say I want this to be mobile number. And you can see that because it knows it's a phone number, it gives me the phone number format. And you can see the entries must follow this format. I can turn that off. It means you can put in whatever you want. But turning this on will then make this only take phone number formatted entries. I'll click that. And let's say I wanted to do a star rating. And let's say star rating. I can create that column. And you can see I have the star rating and I don't have to fill anything in. I can also come over here and I might want to put a number. And this might be quantity of items. And let's say it's a precision on that. It'll tell you how many decimal points you want. So this would be no decimal points, 1 decimal point. Let's say I want 2. Let's say this one has none. So no decimal points there, no precision. It's not currency because it's a quantity, and I'll create that column. But let's say I wanted to have a cost, right? So let's say I do another number, hit next, and this is going to be cost per unit, right? And here I want, because it's currency, I'm going to say 2. And I can just turn that on. It'll tell me what currency I want. And you have a variety of choices here. I am American, so I will use the US dollar. And there we go. And now that's my basic table. So I can make some entries here. So I'll say Willy Wonka again, because I beat that to death. And 555, 555, 555. Notice it's automatically has the formatting because we saw that earlier. We'll put the star rating of 5 stars because that's a great movie. Let's say we have 3 items and each one costs $19.99 per unit. If I try to add more, notice it doesn't do it because it recognizes its currency. It only gives me 2 decimals of precision. I'm going to come down here and type in Charlie Bucket. Learn how to use your 4 things here, and I can say bucket at Orca.com. 111, 111, 1111. Let's say he's a 3-star rating, and let's say he has 12 items, and each of his items costs $9.99. So as you can see now, I have entries here in this. Now I can create a form out of this very easily by just editing this form. I can view it as a form right here. It's going to bring it up as a form, right? And I can add more entries here. So I can sit there and say Veruca Salt, for example, and I can say salt at nuts.com because her dad owned a nut company. 222, 222, 2222. Let's do a 2-star. She's never happy. Let's do 150, and her unit cost is $1.99. Let's submit that. Now I'm going to close this tab, and as you can see, Veruca is now the latest entry up here. All her information got added in. But one of the cool things you could do with, because this is a table, not a form, is we're in table view, is I could actually do calculations based upon this. So you see, why was I adding items and cost? It's because let's say I wanted to add a new column. So I can come over to the end here, add a new column. And instead of basic, I'm going to go formula, and I'm going to do a calculation. And let's give this column a name, and we'll say it's total cost. We'll say next. We'll say equal, and I just come down here to quantity of items, and then I can do multiply, and then cost per unit, hit create column. So very cool. And now I know for each line item on my table how much the total cost is. And the nice thing about that is if I add another user here, so let's say I do Mike TV, let's say TV at tv.com, and then 444, 444, 444, and let's say he is 5 stars. 5 stars. Let's give him a rating too. And let's say he has 9 units, but his units are $29.99. As you can see, if I can scroll over here, you can see that now it automatically calculates the total cost. So a really quick and easy way to use your tables and use formulas to really sort of manipulate data inside your table. And again, if I want to download this, I can click download. I can download it as an Excel file. It's thinking about it, and now it's going to download. I can come down here, click open, and you can see that all my fields are here. Now these are not formulas in the Excel, because what it's doing is it's copying the value, not copying the type, right? Because even though you're outputting it to Excel, it's just basically taking like those, it's treating it almost like a CSV file and dumping it into an Excel file, right? So each one of these is not a formula. There's no formulas in this. It's just dumping the value into for each of the columns. So I'm going to close that real quick, and that's really cool, right? So you can get all this data. You can look at it as a form by clicking over here and say view form. Actually, view form, right? And come over here, and now I can see my form like I did before. I can close that out. I can edit my form if I want to, and now I can come over here and just treat it like any other form. I can give it a unique look. So I can go to themes, and I'll go with this big blue theme. And that looks pretty good, actually. I like that. So we'll use that. I can preview it, and I see my form right there. I can close off. So now if I want to fill in this form, fill in that table, I can use the form, but I don't have to, right? I can go close this out, and I can just fill in all my, if I'm just using this purely as a table, I can use it purely as a table and never use it as a form. I'm not locked in to using it as a form. But certainly, if I want to potentially have a quick form where I can just go and populate data and know it just goes into that place, or if I want to send this to somebody and have them populate data and it goes in here, it works very easily that way. So that's how you use tables inside of JotForm. I'm going to show you how to use the PDF editor next. Okay, the last thing I want to do is show you how to take a form you created in JotForm and export it out as a fillable PDF. Because a lot of times you might create a form, but you want that to be able to send that to them as an editable PDF, have them fill it out, maybe sign it, and send it back to you. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So the first thing you want to do is pull up your form in your, go into My Forms, find the form you want, go to More, and go down here to PDF document over here in data and create PDF document. You click on that. We'll call this course registration PDF, and we'll just do it. That's fine. We'll hit create. Select the layout. Okay, we'll do that one. We'll do this one. Create, and as you can see here, I now have my student registration form created, and I can do a bunch of different things here. So if I wanted to, I could create a new heading, add text, an image. I can actually even put empty space. So if I might want to put an empty space in here and space it out a little bit, for example, and create that there. I might even want to add a signature file. I can drag that into the bottom here. If I wanted to have the student sign it, I can actually resize it as well and potentially move this over so it's aligned. Maybe put another empty space between courses and signature just to make it cleaner. And there we go. And now I have this form all filled out as a PDF that I can send to people. I can download it, which I'm going to do right now. And I'm going to click Open with System Viewer. And that's going to bring up Preview. And you can see that my form is right there. I can close out of that. I can preview my form by just clicking the little preview, and you can see it's previewed in here, and edit it out right there. And I can email this to people, and they can fill it out and send it to me. So very easy to do, very cool, and I hope you like this video. And if you like this video, please click the like button. It does help me out and really lets people know that this video was worth watching. If you want to see more of my videos on various productivity apps and services like JotForm, Notion, Evernote, etc., hit that subscribe button. And if you want to be notified or release new videos, please click the bell. Thanks.